Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Script Back with Daisy Delight, where I am trying my very, very best to unpack the Sydney burlesque scene one rhinestone at a time. And if you are listening to this episode, congratulations, you are listening to my Road to Mx Burlesque series, where each episode I'm taking a little look into either a competitor from this year or a reigning champ from last year. And at the moment, I'm joined with Basjia. How are you going, Basjia?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm sitting here in London in an Airbnb, 10:30 in the morning. The sun is out, which is not usual, but that's okay. It's out.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me internationally as well. I really appreciate it.
No worries at all.
Awesome. Well, Baja, I have to say, I have had some really amazing people on my show. Like I've interviewed some awesome people in the Sydney scene, but I'll be honest, when I started researching you and everything you've done, I actually started to get a little bit nervous because I was like, oh my God, how do I even touch on all of this in one interview? I mean, you're a prominent
There's that.
figure in the Sydney ballroom community, member of the
Yeah.
House of Silky. You were featured in Vogue in 2023. You're a
Mhm.
model, you're a dancer, you're a creative director, you're currently instructing at the Golden Era. And on top of that, you're the current reigning Mx Burlesque Sydney. Like, wow.
There's a lot. Yes. I'm a very busy person. I don't know how to relax.
Yeah, honestly, like you'd have to schedule breaks in at some point, right?
I'm trying at this. This is what this holiday is for. So I can learn to sit down for 5 minutes. But even then, I don't really think we've relaxed fully.
Yeah, even then, you're still talking to me. So, I mean,
That's fine. This is my sitting down time, so it's so fine.
oh, I appreciate that. Thank
Of
you. Well,
course.
yeah, absolute honor to have you on. I guess that I'll just get straight into it. So, what was your first ever exposure to burlesque?
So I guess, there's obviously like, burlesque videos on the internet. So a lot of, seeing a lot of burlesque videos on the internet, seeing, videos of Josephine Baker. I've always loved Josephine Baker.
Yes.
Um, what else? Like I went to a burlesque class at Sydney Vintage when I was, going through a breakup and was just like ready to start some new, I don't know, new type of movement, start getting myself into like, I don't know, different areas of performance. I definitely performed before, but I felt like I was still very much a new performer just in general. And I started, doing a beginner's burlesque class. I think that was in like 2020.
Oh my God.
Um, but yeah, like, obviously the burlesque movie, everyone's seen the burlesque movie. But I've always, seen beautiful like videos online of burlesque performers, of their outfits, of, just their movement, and the drama.
Mm. Yeah, the absolute elegance and beauty. Yeah, it's really something to be admired.
Absolutely.
Oh, so was watching those videos on the internet something that prompted you to want to go to Sydney Vintage and do your first class?
Um, no, I actually have no idea like what made me decide. Maybe because I was living in Marrickville at the time.
Okay.
Um, and I had seen that the studio, like I'd seen it, just walking on Marrickville Road, that it existed. And I don't know, like I don't know what prompted me to decide to start a burlesque. Because I was just getting myself into all different types of dancing at that point. Like I was,
Yeah.
going to a heels class. And I think maybe like, in burlesque, you're obviously, wearing heels as well. So maybe that's probably like the avenue I was trying to go down, like, wanting to do as many different types of heel performances as possible
Mm.
because I was already a performer at that point, but still like didn't really know what my performance looked like. I had done like one solid routine that was like the routine that I would perform at all the gigs that I was getting booked at, which wasn't a lot, but I was still getting booked here and there.
Uh-huh.
And I think I just wanted to expand my range as much as possible. And it's actually funny because I didn't end up continuing on with heels dancing, not for any particular reason. I absolutely loved it.
Hmm.
But I definitely continued on with my burlesque for a little bit longer, and then I pretty much started, performing after like one term.
Yeah, wow. You're just like,
Yeah,
yep,
I
this
felt
is for
really
me.
comfortable in it. Yeah,
Oh,
I did. I felt really comfortable. I felt really like I felt good that when I was doing it, I felt really strong in it.
mm.
I didn't feel like I was a beginner when I was doing it. I felt like I already knew what I was doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And can I just say that is so apparent when you're on stage as well? Like, I saw your performances last year at MX, and just the thing, what, like, there are many things to admire about you on stage, but one of the things that really struck me was just how confident and centered you were in yourself and in your presence. Like, there was a real goddess energy like around about
Yeah.
you. So, yeah, I can absolutely see that.
Period. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like, just through ballroom as well,
Mm,
I feel like it gave me a lot of confidence when I entered ballroom. And I think because ballroom, the categories I walk also have a performance aspect to them.
uh,
I felt really confident, also being, um, a showgirl has given me a lot of confidence. Um, yeah, like I think all the avenues that I exist were already existing in before that I had built that confidence in me because I wasn't really a confident person for majority of my life.
yeah, wow.
Um, yeah, not at all.
Oh
It's
my God.
actually crazy. The transition that I've had. But yeah, I feel really good in it.
Oh, that's beautiful. So, what was your first ever class like? Do you remember who your teacher was?
Yes, it was Kitty at Sydney Vintage.
Stop it. No way.
Yes, and I was just obsessed with her. Like she was
Mm,
just beautiful and like just has gorgeous body, gorgeous face. Like her beat was always done for class.
yep.
Like she looked beautiful. I loved the sound of her voice. Like she has this really gorgeous like higher voice.
Hmm.
Um yeah, I feel like also having her as like my first burlesque teacher just made me be like, oh, I was in awe. So I think that also really, when you have a really good teacher and it makes you love what you're doing a lot more. It was very
Absolutely.
that. It was really very much that. Like seeing her and having her as my first teacher made me enjoy being in class, enjoy burlesque, and just seeing, how she moved. I was like, oh,
Mm.
I can really get down with like this type of craft.
Yep. The way that Kitty moves is genuinely an art. Like one of the things that I'm struggling with the most as a performer right now is I go so fast. Whenever I look at somebody like Kitty Allure, I'm just like, oh my God.
Mhm.
Like she's just so she owns it, you know? It's just it's
It's
gorgeous.
very smooth, very sensual, like yeah, I think that's also appealed to me because that is my style of movement too,
Absolutely.
I don't like to be super fast when I perform.
Mm.
Obviously there's times and places where I can, but I love slow, sensual movement. And also I'm pretty sure my first term we were doing a Marilyn Monroe performance. And then that
Stop it.
also, yeah, I'm pretty sure we were doing. Oh, what were we doing? I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was. And I think that's also another thing that made me just be like, yes, obsessed because I love Marilyn Monroe as well. So it
Oh,
was like everything was just coming together so beautifully.
gorgeous. Did you
And like,
guys ever perform that on stage?
no, we didn't perform it on stage. I don't think it was a performance term,
Gotcha.
but I definitely loved being there. Loved it. Loved every second of it.
Oh, gorgeous. And so very quickly after that, you started performing solo?
Well, I'd already started performing before that.
Mm-hmm.
Or solo-ish. Like, I had been asked by the Bearded Tit, which is a bar in Redfern,
Ah, yes.
like a queer bar in Redfern, to perform for this performance night that they held every Wednesday,
Mm-hmm.
which is Queer Board.
Oh,
And
yes.
asked, and I had kind of was shook because I was like, oh, I'm not really like I hadn't performed before that. I had walked in balls and
Mm-hmm.
I'd like definitely was like a girl who was always like dancing at the parties, like, always coming in a like fabulous look and just like,
Yep.
I don't know, feeling myself being in those spaces. So maybe that's what prompted them to ask me to perform.
Uh-huh.
And essentially, I had to come up with a performance idea for that evening.
Oh my God.
And my friend Mel Ree and I, we were, at my house and we were just having a discussion. And I was like, oh, what can I do? What can I do? And she was like, why don't you do a reverse strip? And I was like, yes, that's actually genius. Like, where I start off completely naked and then, I'd get the audience members to help dress me. And then, put some movement in between, like as I was getting dressed, before I got dressed, like, yeah, so I pretty much did a whole performance about, and I centered it around, Black women.
Yeah.
Um, and that was my first performance. So I was doing that before I started burlesque. But
Whoa.
then after I did the burlesque class, I think it opened up my eyes to like more style that I could do.
Wow, that's awesome. So you were already doing like strip tease and reverse strip and stuff
Yeah.
before burlesque. That's awesome.
So did you really start fully naked?
Yes,
Oh my God.
I did. Yeah, fully naked.
Is that
And then I got the audience but I've always been very comfortable, not always, but like as a performer, when I started performing, I actually prefer to be nude.
yeah, right.
Like, I don't love wearing pasties. I don't love wearing like, I mean, I don't mind the underwear part because I can also get some like fabulous panties, but
Mm,
the pasties have always been something where I'm like, why do I have to wear these? Like,
yeah.
I love having my natural titties out.
And you've got a beautiful body. So I mean, like, why not show it off,
Thank
right?
you. Exactly, exactly. I've worked very hard for it. So every time I get told to cover it up, I'm like, but why?
Yeah, legitimately. Wait, so
What for?
God, what was it? Yeah, because I remember this actually leads on very well because I've always been wanting to ask you this question because I remember at your MX performance
Yes.
there was a time where
Yeah.
your bra came off, your pasties came off, everything came off. Was that planned or?
So the thing is, I actually didn't have a bra on. I was wearing a dress
Ah,
and I had pasties on underneath that were meant to obviously stay on.
yeah.
And then I, for the first time, was also trying what is it called? It's like I don't know if it's a merkin or not, maybe, but essentially like where it's almost like a pasty for your puss.
Right. Plus pasty.
So it's yeah, so it doesn't have it doesn't have strings like panties do, and it doesn't have like, even how you can get invisible strings.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that. It was literally just like meant to stick on, but with like whatever they use on it. And I had put, tape on it to secure it. Same as my pasties, I put tape on them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd even put what is the stuff that spirit gum? I put spirit gum. Like,
Oh my
I had
God.
put everything on them,
Yeah.
on both pieces, just to make sure, because just before that, Steve, who was the performer before me,
Uh-huh.
his outfit had fallen apart and
Yeah.
he pretty much ended up with, his bits and pieces out. And I was like, oh my God, I hope that doesn't happen to me. Like, because I didn't care so much about being naked. It was more just like, I had heard that if it ends up being exposed, it takes off points.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, oh, that sucks because I can't really help that, but I'm going to try to help it. So
Mm.
try to secure them as much as I possibly could. Like with everything that I had, backstage, I was doing everything possible to make sure. And the Lord said, no, this is not what I want. Everything came off. Like, I could feel the puss pad, aka the merkin, whatever it is, come off when I like squatted down, but I was in my dress at the time and I felt it come off and I was like, oh my God, when I take this dress off, my whole pussy is going to be out. And part of me was like, okay, what can I do? Like, there was nothing to do. I was on stage. I was in the middle of my routine.
Yeah.
So I pretty much just had to go with it. I put my dress down, and also because it hadn't fully come off, it just had fallen off the front part. So it was just
Oh,
hanging there.
oh my God.
And when I took my thing off, and I literally just like, I could hear the audience, like the scream kind of dull down, like in shock. and I pretty much just ripped it off. Was like, fine, we're doing this performance with my pussy out. I don't care. And so that was fine. I was still, the pasties were still on. And then I don't know what happened, but as I was moving throughout the crowd, they ended up like just coming off. Like one got stuck, I think, to something, and I ended up just like putting it on somebody's head.
Oh no.
Um, oh, it's because I was wearing my Polaroids on top of them. So that's what happened. Because I had my Polaroids on top of them.
Yeah.
One got stuck to the Polaroid. I ended up having to just chuck it on somebody's head. At that point, I was just like, it's over. Like, I'm fully naked. I just have to go with this. So yeah, I just went with it. I felt great. I loved it. I loved being naked. I loved being able to roam through the crowd like that.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. I feel like I made the moment like extra exciting. I worked, there was that moment at the very end where I was like on the wall and I was just like rolling around being naked and the spotlight was on me.
Yeah.
I loved it. I had the best time. So it was like, it just was meant to be. I was meant to be naked. I can't fight fate.
That's true. I think that's part of the reason why I thought it was planned, because you were just so fucking confident out there. I was just like, oh yeah. And I was
No.
talking to one of my friends about it afterwards, and I was just like, yeah, I think it was so cool that Basjia got fully naked. And she's like, that wasn't supposed to happen, And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Like,
you're not allowed to be naked.
yeah. And she's like, that's illegal. I'm like, what?
Yeah, especially because in venues you're not actually, some venues don't allow that, which
Wow.
is so stupid. It's so ridiculous, but whatever. What can I do? If a malfunction happens, a malfunction happens. There's really nothing that can be done.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you still ended up becoming Mx Burlesque Sydney, so I mean, you were doing something right.
Exactly.
So what would you say is the act that you're the most proud of then?
The act that I'm most proud of?
Yes.
I think that first one that I've ever, like, honestly, I love them all for such different reasons. Like the first act that I ever created with the reverse strip ended up evolving into so much more from that first performance. Like,
Yeah.
first it was just, I would go through the crowd and then reverse strip and then that was it. But then I expanded on it and eventually I would re-strip down and then change my outfit, and then it would end up with me doing like pole, and then I would move into the audience and give lap dances.
Whoa.
I loved that performance because it just became so much more about like, all the different facets that exist in Black women. It was like an ode to the women who are like, freedom fighters and part of the Black Panthers. It became an ode to like sex workers and strippers who like sensationalized pole culture, and the stuff that we see. It just became about being liberated in my body as well. So I really love that performance, and I love it's one of the ones where I get such a huge audience reaction to it, because it is so interactive, because it is so exciting, because it is really powerful. I also, all the ones that I created for Miss Burlesque or MX Burlesque, also obviously have a very special place in my heart because they were the acts that I created for that competition. And I've only been able to perform the final one that I did outside of the competition, only because the other one with the Polaroids just requires so much prep. But I've definitely recycled that prep, that sort of idea with the Polaroids for outfits. I also, I love that one that, I did for the final performance for MX Burlesque, because again, it was just about celebrating like Black feminine beauty and creating my alternate universe where everything was beautiful and like the world was free. I also have another performance that I do, which starts off with the classic Jessica Rabbit performance.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I do like a striptease to is it Do Right by it's like the Jessica Rabbits.
Yeah, I know the one.
Yeah, and I then I end up doing fans at the end to this song by an Australian performer called Glow, and the song's Demon Boy, and it's such a sexy song. And that's also that I've started doing quite a few times. I've done it in a few venues because I just feel so good when I do it. And like, I don't know, I can see the crowd really responds to it well.
Yeah.
So that also is like another one of my favorites, because it's like one that's become a staple in like my performance, I don't know,
Your
folder, book, my repertoire, you know, like
Yeah.
there's other ones that I've done that are just smaller ones, and I've started to like incorporate a new one that's I've done a few times now, but those ones are probably my favorite.
Oh, gorgeous. And can I say, at MX, when you were doing that second act, you were positively glowing. Like it was, it was
Thank you.
it was gorgeous. I was just like, oh man, this is really cool. I want to join this world. Like,
Yeah, I really loved it. I loved that one. It's, I don't know, I love the outfit that I created for it. I love,
yeah.
you know, the dreamy fantasy of it. I think I've pretty much finished performing that one. Like, I don't know if I'll do that for a long time.
Yeah.
But you know, it always has a special place in my heart.
Absolutely. Would you say that that's your favorite costume that you've ever worn?
Oh, that's so hard. Like, I definitely think as a costume, like as a full costume, that's probably one of my favorites. My friend Dexter Lola helped me create the skirt. Well, pretty much, you know, we had the vision, and they pretty much, you know, were laying and gluing those flowers down up until the final day.
Wow.
Yeah, they brought it to the venue. We put it on there, like, you know, so it was crazy. That was the first time I was seeing it as its full self.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was perfect. It was so, so perfect. Like, I love that skirt so much. And, you know, the afro that I had just ordered and put all these beautiful pieces in, like, I think definitely it's my favorite full costume for sure.
Yeah, because it really transports you to that world,
Yeah,
right?
special. It's really special. Like, you know, burlesque is an expensive art form,
Yeah.
and I don't have the same access to, like, you know, all these crazy gowns and, you know, designers that, you know, maybe other people do. And being able to create something with your friend that is so special and so beautiful, I think is really, I don't know, it makes me feel good because we created something that is on its own level, and we didn't do it, you know, with the same resources that, you know, everybody else may have, or not everybody else, but, you know, that the burlesque world are able to like pull from. Because I was such a new performer,
Yeah.
I didn't know, you know, who to contact. But it didn't matter because what we created was amazing.
It absolutely was, and it was unlike anything else. Like, it was, really
Yeah,
something unique.
truly.
Yeah. So, do you, think that you have a signature move when you're dancing? Is there anything that you go back to constantly?
I feel like I have so many signature moves. Like, you know, I love a lap dance.
Yeah.
I love, you know, stare. Like, I think my main signature move is like eye contact. Like,
Mm.
deep eye contact is one thing that I think is that's not my signature move yet. My partner's like, tell me about your new signature move that you want to do. I'm like, that's not happening for a minute. um, not until my body is recovered from all the things that I've done to it. But um, you know, definitely deep eye contact. I love, you know, leg play. I love, you know, a lot of my movement is derived from working at clubs and, you know, stripper culture, because that's what I know.
Yeah.
Um, and that, I don't know, like, it's not always typical burlesque, but it's still, you know, hot. It's hot. It's sexy. Like,
Yeah.
I love crawling. I think crawling has become also another signature for me, like really long crawls, which not everyone would have been able to see because I need the right flooring for
Yeah.
that. I can't do it on a carpet. Um, yeah, just like lap dancing, eye contact, crawls, all of that. I love a back bend.
Oh, yes, gorgeous.
Love a back bend.
All of the good stuff. Right.
Exactly.
So, okay, this is a bit of a loaded question, so I'm sorry if it takes you a second, but do you consider anyone to be your biggest influence in burlesque or in dance?
Um, I actually feel like I'm very much inspired by the people around me more than anything.
Mm,
Like, you know, I I feel like I have so many incredible performers and creatives around me who have helped inspire and navigate my path. Like, I have my pole teacher, Paige Cooper, who very much was like one of the first people that I sought after as a teacher, just because of how incredible I think their performance is.
mm,
I have a lot of friends who are part of, my House of Silky, like
yeah.
Mother Mira, Father Xander, my sister Akashi, my other sister Kendall. Like, I have a lot of people in my house who also like, I just am in awe of the way they move and their charisma as performers. um I think for my style of burlesque, I don't think that there's a particular person
Mm,
that I could say influences me, because, I definitely am somebody who likes to watch videos and like study and save, but I also really have, as a performer, wanted to work on being my own person and like having my own style.
yeah.
So I think, I've always just been somebody who just like, I freestyle in the studio a lot. I'm always like, one thing my partner can say is like, you're literally always dancing, you're always moving. Like,
Yeah.
I will just a pole studio, dance studio, any day of the week as much as possible, just to like play and figure out what my style looks like. Um, so I definitely feel like, just the way that I am is, I've also, I guess, inspired myself or influenced myself, sorry. Um, you know, like people who work at the club, like the allure and sex appeal that comes from, workers, that's like no one else. Their whole job is about drawing people in,
Mm,
and
mm.
do that better than anyone else. So yeah, I think, there's a lot of influences around me, and at the same time I feel like I, you know, also just like to do my own thing as well.
Yeah. You're like the essence of a dancer through and through. You're constantly living it.
I love it. It makes me so happy. Like, it
Mm.
just, I don't know. I honestly, I used to dance when I was little, and I stopped it
Yeah.
quite, because just so many different things, like my body image,
Mm,
my mom not being able to, like, constantly take us to dancing.
yeah.
So I didn't really get to like fully fulfill that. And, you know, I didn't start dancing again until I was like in my 20s, like in my mid
Mm.
20s. And being able to do that, and, do that with a new perspective of how I feel about my body, how I feel about myself, feels really good. um, and yeah, it just makes me happy. Really makes me happy.
It's really beautiful, and it's very apparent when you're on stage as well. It's you can tell that it's your happy place.
Oh, it really is. It's like, it's my happy place. It's my therapy.
Yeah.
Like, when I'm feeling shit, I just go to the studio and dance it off.
Mm,
It's
mm,
my exercise. Like, it's the thing that I do the most, and it's, yeah, I love it.
mm.
It tests me and challenges me in so many different ways.
Gorgeous. So, do you have any advice for new performers who are just getting started in burlesque?
For sure. I definitely feel like, one thing that always held me back from starting classes was fear, because
Mm,
you don't want to mistakes or look silly in front of people. And I think that if you really want to start something, or go to a class, I think it's really important that you know that everyone else in that class has that fear. Like, you're not alone in that, and that when you're actually in that class, no one is looking at you. They're all focusing on themselves. And so it just go for it. Like, really go to that class, and put yourself into it. And when you're, I guess, ready to become a performer, or you feel confident in your performance ability, like, to just work on playing, like, and dancing on your own. I think that's really important. Developing your own style and really going for it, and not trying to emulate everyone else that you see, because you want to be unique and you want to tell your story. I think that's really important. Like, in my performance, I really try to tell my story, or the story of my experience, and that's what makes what can make it really special and unique. And I think telling your story and doing what feels good for you is more important than trying to look at your hero as a performer and think, I have to be exactly like them, because you don't.
Yeah. Amen to that. Everyone's unique and they all bring something special to the table, right?
Yeah, you want to. That's the vibe.
I love it. So how did you get ready for MX Burlesque when you were doing it back last year?
I was rehearsing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely just, yeah, I would rehearse a lot. But also, the thing is with me, I don't love choreography.
Uh-huh.
Like, I really am somebody who loves freestyling. And I think the thing is with this one, I was like, fuck, I need to probably add some choreo into this, because, as much as I love freestyling, sometimes when you freestyle on stage, you either like don't know what to do next,
Mm,
or you get too into it, like, and then you like go over time. So I wanted to really try to be able to make sure that I had moments that were set. So I definitely wanted to combine, moments of choreography with moments of freestyle,
mm-hmm.
which is what both my performances.
Oh,
Both were
wow.
both very half freestyle. Um, and you know, being able to leave space for that, because I think also when you are in the burlesque world, you feel like everything has to be perfect.
Yes.
That's one pressure that I feel like was on my shoulders for that competition. Like, not that anyone put it on me, but just knowing that a lot of burlesque performers have very sharp, set routines,
Yeah.
and that's not really my style.
Yeah.
Um, and not everyone does, but that's just not me. And
Mm.
I wanted to be able to like honor myself, but also feel strong in what I was doing.
So I think that that's really, really ballsy that you left space for freestyling in a competition setting. I think it takes a special kind of confidence to be able to do that.
I think I just feel like when I lose myself in the moment a little bit more, I feel like that translates more than me hitting the move like
Mm,
each, like, one after the other perfectly.
yeah.
Like, a lot of my performing in clubs is pretty much freestyle. In fact, most of it is
Oh,
freestyle.
gorgeous.
Like, when I do, whenever I've performed, at like smaller burlesque nights, it's always freestyle. When I've done
Yeah.
all my fans, if anyone has ever seen me do fans at a show, I've never rehearsed that. Like, it's
Wow.
never, I literally am there. I just have to know the song. I think
Wow.
that's the only, like, the song is something, which is why I'm very intentional with the song that I choose, because I'm like, if I know the song, I'm just gonna flow to it. Um, so yeah, most of my performance is freestyle.
That's incredible. So literally just being the essence of the dancer once again, just coming out.
Yeah, just like losing myself in the music, like also playing with the audience, which is why I think I thrive when the audience, they don't even need to have big energy, but they just need to be there. Like,
Yeah.
I love, you know, intimacy. So again, a big part of my performance is, playing with the audience and connecting with them, whether it just be through eye contact or like actual, like, body touching.
Yeah.
because that's just my vibe.
So, what would you say has been the best part of your run as MX Burlesque Sydney? Has there been a highlight?
Honestly, like being MX Burlesque Sydney, that's like cool, but I don't think it actually furthered anything in my career.
Huh.
It didn't open up all these crazy opportunities that maybe I I didn't like. I guess that was my first time being in that competition. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the aftermath of that would be. I think the only thing that it has like helped fulfill is that people can like add that to like, my bio,
Right.
but it did open up crazy doors. I think the doors that have been opened up have been through my own hard work and pursuing things myself,
Mm.
and really putting out my work on my socials and creating spaces where other people of color and Black people can perform. Honestly, the runs, like, the best part of my run is me putting my own heart and soul into it and believing in myself and pushing myself as an artist out there.
Mm.
um because yeah, like, it's cool to have the title, and like, I feel honored that I could participate in something like that and get as far as I did. But at the end of the day, I put a lot of work into what I do, and I've really been my number one, like, driving force.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you win the title and then you don't do any work afterwards, like it's not like it's going to, do anything without your hard work, right?
At all, not at all.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's to add to the bio, pretty
Yeah.
much.
And like to say,
Cool.
people have recognized me and I'm awesome.
Yeah.
These people said it.
Yes, to be like, oh, like, no one really knows me as a burlesque performer. Like, I think I was very quite new to the scene coming into that competition,
Hmm.
and being able to go as far as I did. I think that's really impressive for me, to be able to be somebody who, isn't widely known in the burlesque scene, and then be like an underdog in
Yeah.
my own special way.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, 100%. Well, we definitely all know who you are now.
Thanks, Boo. Thank you.
So what advice would you give to this year's contestants, if you have any?
I would just say, like, don't overthink, your performance. Like, do what feels best to you. Like, honestly, honor yourself as a performer, because I think, like I said, when I was getting ready, I felt like in my mind I had to be this perfect burlesque performer, like every other burlesque performer that's ever existed. I had to be like, just so sharp and so clean, and have, I don't, just be a perfect performer.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you think that you have to be a perfect performer, you stray away from who you are
Mm.
and your essence, and what makes you special. And what I believe is that if you lean more into yourself, then that is more powerful than trying to emulate somebody else, or trying to you know hit every mark, or trying to like follow the rules of burlesque to a T.
Yeah.
The more you are yourself, the better it is, the more exciting it is for your audience, the more they get to know you and your performance style, and the more you make your own mark. Because, when you come in and show your uniqueness, that's when you're creating your own lane.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's really awesome advice. And that's why I love watching competitions as well, is because ultimately the uniqueness of each performer is just so exciting, I don't understand how the judges do it. Like everyone's so amazing in their own way.
Truly, like, it's so special. And when I entered the competition, like, because a lot of the burlesque I'd seen before was always very like comedic, and I was like, oh, I can't really be comedic, like that's not my performance style.
Mm, mm.
um I'm not really like, I don't do big facial expressions, and I know that that is also a huge part of burlesque, especially, you know, when you're stripping. So I felt like, you know, I needed to be like that in order for it to be effective. And then the more I started practicing, I was like, I really want to feel good and comfortable. So I'm really gonna stick to what I know. I love being sensual and I love feeling sexy and beautiful.
Yeah.
And not that you can't have everything, but I'm not that comedic. Like I have good one-liners, but I'm not a comedic performer. I'm not, you know, that silly. And I don't know how to do that well. And there are some people who are absolutely like genius at that.
Yeah.
Um,
For
like
sure.
Aurora, like,
Oh,
but that's me. So I wanted to honor what I feel good in, and I think again that's more important than trying to, you know, do what you think is gonna be like the most effective. What is the most effective is when you are yourself.
oh, that's fantastic advice for life, really, isn't it? Just be yourself.
Period.
Period. Yeah,
Just be yourself.
just be yourself. Amazing. Well, oh my goodness, we're coming to the end of the episode. So, thank you so much for your time. Before we go, I always like the guests on my podcast to just spotlight another performer who's doing something awesome in the scene. So, who would you like to give a shout out to?
Um, to be honest, I really would like to give a shout out to Sheena.
Mm.
Um, because Sheena's been around for a very long time. Sheena's been my biggest support as a performer. Like,
Aw.
100%, like, you know, Sheena was letting me use that studio space for every time I needed to do a rehearsal. She's, you know, been there. She's always wanted to push for more, you know, Black and POC artists to take up space, which I think is really important because there's not a lot that exists in this country.
Yeah.
And being able to have somebody who backs you, somebody who's going to lend you fans when you want to do your first fans performance, who wants to help train you when you need, who like, you know, the night before, the day before the show, I was like freaking out because I had rehearsed and it didn't feel perfect. And Sheena's like, you just need to relax. You just need to go home. You've done all you can do.
Oh.
Like go. And you know, she was right. Like I think Sheena deserves a lot of credit for the space that she opens up for people in her studio.
Mhm.
Constantly letting people who are new come and teach. Like, you know, Sheena helped me become a teacher at her studio. Yeah, she's
Mm.
just like somebody who deserves a lot of props for what she does for the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's contributed such an amazing space. So yeah, no, that's really awesome. So before we go, is there anything that you're currently working on right now that our listeners should be aware of?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Okay.
I have a couple of things coming up. Not majority of them are not burlesque, but as if you just want to come see me perform, period.
Uh-huh.
When I get from Australia, from London, on the 26th, I am performing. I'm competing in Dance Filthy, which is a pole
Ooh.
competition. The right after that, I will be performing for Performance Space for Brolga, which is a night honoring queer, Indigenous, and Black and POC excellence. That will also be on the night of the 26th. I'm pretty sure that's at Carriage
Oh,
Works.
wow,
Um,
incredible.
yes, on the 27th, which is on the Sunday,
Mhm.
I will be competing at MX Show Babe, which is pretty much like a show girl, show person competition. So get tickets to that because that's going to be incredible. I'm doing a full like 12-minute performance to that.
Oh,
There's a lot
wow.
of other performers who will be a part of that. Um, I'll be in Nam in November to perform for Smut,
Mhm.
which is an incredible show. Again, like that's also very much like a variety style show. So Smut, which is run by Juniper, I will be performing in. Juniper Fox, also a burlesque performer, incredible in Nam.
Gorgeous.
I have my classes. If you want to come to my Central Floor classes at Sydney Vintage, starting again in October on the 30th. Every Wednesday, come to my classes. They're really fun. I also have pole classes at the Golden Era Studio starting up in October, late October, if you want to come learn pole with me. Yeah, there's a lot happening. I have my own event, the Pyramid, back on December 7th for my 30th birthday, which is for Black and POC performers. Yeah, lots of things happening. But also, if you want, go to my Instagram. I will constantly promoting things.
And what is your Instagram?
At Basjia at Basjia.
Gorgeous. Wow, you really don't take any breaks, hey? Like, you're just constant.
Literally the day after we land, I'm performing all weekend. I'm kind of like, it's crazy, but that's okay. Like, it makes me happy. So
Yeah.
we're really doing it.
You're always dancing. I mean, may as well get paid for it, right?
Exactly. And also, yeah, I love getting myself out there. I love creating, so why not?
Oh, that's gorgeous. Well, thank you so much, Basjia, for joining me internationally. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, good. Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Oh, yay. I'm so glad to hear. Even with all of our technical issues, which the listeners will not be aware of.
Not at all. We did that. We really did that.
We really did. Oh, well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Gorgeous. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you, babe. You too. Or have a good night.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Night in Sydney. Bye.
Bye.